Okay, we're going to start here on the part number lookup tab, and what we've got is a table where we have the model number going down the first column and the years going across the tops of each column. And what we want to do is we want to be able to put a model year in here and a model number in here and have it return to us the number that's at the intersection of those two values. So let's say, for example, that we put in 1998 and 250. Okay, we want it to return this value 258849 in this part number column. So how can we do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to use a VLOOKUP, which we looked at before when we were doing the first Excel project early in the semester. And I'm going to say look up the model number. We'll do a comma, and I want to look it up in this area here from A4 to down to A14 and then all the way across. So A4 to N14, I'm going to hit F4 on that. Even though it doesn't matter, I guess it's just good practice to hit F4 always on your table array. And then we know that I want to go over, let's see, I'm in 1998. I'm in column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to go over to the fifth column, comma, false. Okay, and we'll change that 5 in a second. I'll show you how to do that. But that gives us 258849, which is what we want. Okay, but we need to be able to change the model year so that it goes over to the next cell over and gives us that value. So how do we do that? Well, lucky for us, all of these things are sequential at the top. And so let's change this back to 1998 so that it returns, we want it to return this cell right here, 258849. Okay, well how can we get in this formula the number 5 and always have it be the right number, the right number of offsets for the column to return the right value? Well, the way that I think that we could do that is we could say equals, let's see, column E16, which is the year that we're going to type in, minus 1993. Okay, so that will return 5 in this case, but if we change this to 2000, it gives us 474400. And so now we've got this working how we want it. If we put in year 2004 and model 700, we should get this number, 243353, and we do. Okay, now what if we put in, 1994? Okay. Well, we've got a problem here, is now it's looking in this column. Or if we put in 2008, it gives us an error. Okay, so we haven't totally idiot-proofed this thing where we only require, or we can only allow certain values. Okay, but we can do that. Okay, we can say on this cell, and let's go up here to the data tab. We'll do data validation. Okay, and we only want to allow the model year to be any value between, we don't want any value, we want a whole number between 1995 and 2007. Okay, and then if we try to type in 2008, it gives us an error because we can't type in 2008. Or 1994, it gives us an error. But as long as we type in something that's in the range, it's okay. And we could do the same thing for model number. Now what if we type a model number that's not in here? Okay, it doesn't find it. And it gives us an NA, which it does that because this says false at the end, because false makes VLOOKUP look only for exact matches. If this said true, however, and this is why I never use true. There's only been one time that I've ever used true because I actually wanted it to work this way. But if we say true, it finds the next closest number. And so for 1996, it found the 650. So it found something close. But that's why in the VLOOKUP, I never, except for that one instance, use true. I always use false because you don't want it to return something that's not existent. You want it to give you the error in most cases. So that's a interesting way to use a VLOOKUP with the kind of the years going across the top. Now you could also do an H lookup and approach it from this way, but then it gets harder to define what your offset is here. And you'd have to do some pretty fancy things there. Because these are sequential, it was easy, and I could just say, give me the number minus 1993, and it works. But if it wasn't sequential, it would be harder. Okay, on the checks tab, this is a common problem that a lot of people face is we pulled in from another system, let's say, all the checks that we wrote this month. We wrote 15 checks for these dollar amounts. And then here's what the bank sent us. We got this list of checks from them for the checks that cleared this month. Okay, well, how do we tell if what cleared, I mean, we can't add this up and say, uh-oh, we're off $76,000 because some checks didn't clear. Some checks we wrote haven't cleared yet. So what can we do to make this easier to reconcile? Okay, and so what I would do is I would change these cleared amounts to negative values. Okay, so what's the easiest way to change those all to negative values? Is I'm going to type in -1 in this cell here, and I'm going to copy that, and then I will select this range, and I'm going to do a paste special. And for the paste special this time I'm going to choose multiply, and what that does is it'll multiply all these items by a -1, and boom, now there are negative numbers, and then I can delete the -1. And then let's format these so that the negatives are in parentheses. But then I can do something like this. I can say, okay, or let's do it up here on the checks that were written. I want the sum of everything on this page for check 2001. Okay, so I'm going to say sum if, I'll pick the range of the whole of column B. So if anything in column B equals cell B3, then add up whatever's in column C. Okay, so the checks for, or check 2001 comes to 0, which means we wrote it, and it cleared for the same amount. Now if we fill this down, you'll notice something here. Check 2006 cleared for 36 cents different because we wrote it for 2,539.48. It cleared for 2,539.84. So we've got a problem there. This one we wrote for 8705 and it just didn't clear yet. And then the same with these two. Those just didn't clear yet. But that was an easy way. If we hadn't turned those into negative values, it would have been harder to do that. So paste special, you can do multiply, you can divide, you can add or subtract. So another thing that people sometimes have is, let's say they've got a budget. Pretend that this is our values for our budget. You know, and this is what we, or let's say this is what we spent this year or this month on electricity and heat and whatever for our office, and we want to increase all these numbers by 5% for next month. Well, again, you can just type 5% up here, or actually do instead of 5%, we'll do 1.05 because we're going to multiply all of these by 1.05. We'll do paste special, multiply, and boom, it changes all those numbers by 1.05. Okay, and now it does some things where it put in extra decimals and things which maybe we don't care about. So if we want to reformat those numbers so that they only have 2 decimals, we can use the truncate function. It's trunc, T-R-U-N-C, and we're going to truncate that number to 2 decimals, and now we've got just a 2 decimal number. Where if we copy and paste this, or paste values, we actually have 2 decimals or less than 2 decimals in the number. If we had done the round function, let me go back here and change this to round, that would display only 2 decimals, which sometimes is what we want. But if we actually paste the values, you'll see, oh, I guess that did work. I thought if we pasted the values it would keep all the numbers in there, but I guess by rounding it and then pasting the rounded number, I guess that makes sense. If we let's go back to our rounded number, if we just do equals on that and then expand this out. Well, that's still rounded. Okay, never mind. Round and trunk both work the same in this instance. If you were, I guess what I was thinking is if we just displayed this with only two, without doing the round, it really has the extra decimals in it. So I was overthinking it myself. But paste special. Let's look at all the options in here under paste special. Add, subtract, multiply, divide, transpose we looked at. Paste values I use a lot. Sometimes you can use paste formats, although I tend to use the format painter. Comments you might want to paste. That's where you put the little kind of sticky note in there. And that's the easiest way to handle that is if you want that in multiple cells is to copy and paste the comments. If you've got validation set up, I don't tend to use these over here, although you could if you want to. And some of these are, of course, shortcuts also down in here. That's what a lot of these are that have been added in Office 2010. So another handy tool there. That'll do it for this screencast. We'll come back and look at the division tabs at the end of the file next.